Hello, everyone. We are so excited to have you. I'm going to give it like 60 seconds. I don't want to be where we wait a few minutes. So 60 seconds, let people pull in. We're also recording today's session. So anybody that did sign up, you will get the recording in your inbox. But welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have Teresa and Lorie here. Get comfortable with the chat. Put in your questions because we are going to want to be hearing from you today. This is interactive, so put in your questions and we'll make sure to get to them at the end. Let us know too where you're coming from. It's like we have a lot of people pulling in, and you should see at the bottom, if you sometimes hit the more section, there is a Q&A. So that is where you're going to want to put any questions, any comments you have, and we will be communicating with you throughout and at the very end as well. Oh, we already got one here in Colorado.
Wisconsin.
Awesome. Dawn in Wisconsin. Where else are we from? Is anybody else dealing with this up and down weather?
We had snow on the ground here just yesterday and the day before, and this weekend we're going into like the 60s and 70s. It's crazy.
That's right.
Mhm.
They're
It's
Boston, North Dakota.
raining in Idaho.
It's very rainy where we're at too. What about, is DC rainy as well?
Oh, I haven't looked
Area?
outside. It's just wet.
You have windows? You have
Yeah,
windows where you're from?
there's one right over there, but it's blocked. So.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's going. Dawn said that high of 20 this week and 60 on Friday.
Oh my goodness. My
Kind
goodness.
of
Swing.
the 60s to 70s, if we could just have that last for like a month, my like seasonal depression, I feel like would go away.
You
And
will
a
be
little
fine.
sunshine.
You'll be fine.
Little sunshine. All right. So it seems like a lot of people are popping in. So let's just get right into it. Um, Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be talking with you all today with some good friends, Lorie and Teresa. And we get to talk about the stuff that they didn't train you for, which I know nobody can relate to that at all. But today's just a fireside chat. While we're talking, please put any questions, as I said, into the chat at the very end of our session. We will be answering those live. And let's just get started with some introductions. So, I am going to start off by introducing the middle, Lorie Streeter from Max Assist. Lorie brings nearly 3 decades of experience in dentistry and uh, actually started where so many of the people on this call are today, as a dental office manager, navigating the real challenges of running a practice. She later served as vice president of ADON, supporting office managers and leaders across the country. And today at Max Assist, she continues that work by helping practices grow through stronger systems, smarter technology, relationship-driven leadership. Lorie is someone who truly understands the people behind the front desk and the leadership moments that come with it. So I'm really excited to have you here today. And if you're not following her on Facebook or Instagram, you should be. Lorie, I love your inspirational posts and your travel adventures, especially lately. So, Lorie, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you, Ashley. Great to see you. And I have the esteemed pleasure of introducing the infamous Teresa Duncan. So, my good friend, the president of Odyssey Management, it's a US based company, but also the founder of Dental Revenue Network, which is a network and a community for dental billers and for billing company owners. So, I just am so excited because every time the three of us get together, it's like one of those moments. So, Teresa, welcome, and I'm excited to be here with you and Ashley again.
Well, thanks. Well, and so let me finish it out with Ashley. So I've known Ashley for a long time. I remember when she was the founder of Ashley Bond Dental Billing, right? And now she is the co-founder of Wisdom. And your title, I just love saying this, Chief Dental Billing Officer, because I remember when Ashley was, entrepreneur and starting out. And now look at her. She's got like this big old official title. So, Wisdom is a great RCM company, revenue cycle management company, and has helped offices across the country get that whole mess under control. So, thanks for having all of us here. Ashley, you kind of just got us all together again. This is great.
Gotta get the gang back together, three amigos.
Hmm.
And we're gonna have a fun conversation today, just a fire chat, and I think it's so true of just what we're not trained for. And all of us are walking into a lot of our offices not really knowing what we're doing. So hopefully everyone leaves today knowing you're not alone and you got some people that have been there and been in your shoes. So thank you so much, Teresa and Lorie. Let's just get right started. So let me exit the deck, and Lorie, you are gonna get us going here. So let me stop sharing. Let's just get right into it. Lorie, do you want to kick us off?
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome. So you hear this word kicked around a lot, and I think it's kind of funny because when it applies to someone in a dental practice, a lot of times that falls on the office manager or the front team. What does that look like? You start working, and all of a sudden you're dentist. Everybody has all this clinical background, and you're billing insurance, or you're the patient communication person, or you're a treatment coordinator. And I was thinking back, like, when was the time that I felt true imposter syndrome? So I came up with two quick examples. One was my first day in a dental practice. I walked in, there was mail from a week, like scattered across the counter. This was back when we had a window and we didn't really want people to talk to us, so we had a window. And there was mail everywhere. And my assistant in my practice, who I really love to this day, she came up and dropped a big orange book on my desk, and it was full of teeth and information. She's like, "Learn this." And I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I'm like 20 years old. I don't know anything about teeth and buckles and incisals and things. So that was the first time I experienced imposter syndrome. It took me a while to feel good in my skin where I could actually answer the questions and feel like I knew everything. The second time was my first boardroom at my first or second corporate job, when I was sitting in the room with the president of dental at a company I will not mention. And every time they started talking about office managers and how office managers don't make decisions, and my new boss was kicking me under the table, telling me to be quiet, like, do not say a word. So I think that was the other time I really was, it was very intimidating. But I think it hits the practice level when an office manager doesn't feel like they can speak up to their team, speak up to their doctor, speak up to sales reps or people that are bothering you or doing things like that. So I'll just open it up. I would love to talk about imposter syndrome because I think it affects everybody, one degree or the next. I don't know, Teresa, does it ever affect you? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've got non-dental examples and dental examples. Non-dental example, just, being in a room full of people that were way smarter than I was and just feeling like, how did I get in this room? I kind of tripped into it. And really, the more I talked with them and got to know them, I realized they're not much more different than I am. Everybody, puts their pants on the same in the morning, that kind of thing. And when you hear them tell bad jokes, it kind of takes them down a notch. Like, okay, they're normal, not down a notch, but it humanizes them. But going back into dental, I remember presenting my first treatment plan to a patient. Like that's when I was like, why is this patient listening to me? Like, and that's really it, right? When you are suffering from or have a tinge of imposter syndrome, it's because you're thinking to yourself, why would this person listen to me?
Yeah.
And that was really like, why would this patient listen to me? And I had to remember, like, I'm in this job because I got hired. So, cleared that hurdle. My boss thinks I can do it, cleared that hurdle. This patient is not concerned with any of that. It was all in my head. Like the patient's actually listening, wanting me to continue what I'm doing. They don't care. Why am I so? It was very mental that I had to get over it in my head. And because no patient ever said to me, "Who are you?" That was just what was going on in my head. So I feel like that is I feel like that's what all of us have gone through at some point for sure in the dental office.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you think we would learn. Like because I can see looking back when I had imposter syndrome and now how confident in like presenting treatment plans when that used to be so difficult. Yet now
Mhm.
we have new things, at least for me, that I have imposter syndrome on because I almost forgot the lesson that you can do hard things and you don't have to be an expert in everything
Mm-mm,
to be confident in what you're saying.
mm-mm,
I
mm.
think it drives you to excellence too if you let it. So if you think about it, my one of my examples I was given was being in that corporate room and acting, having to be quiet and letting other people talk and not really wanting to share my expertise in a certain area that I knew they were wrong about. And then, I went on to help build a very large dental community. And like if you think about the juxtaposition of those 2 points, you can use that to fuel what you do going forward, because a lot of times you guys were using examples in a dental practice where you're feeling uncomfortable about presenting something, or like people are thinking a certain thing. I think a lot of times in the front we think, well, we don't have the clinical excellence, but we do have the operational excellence. So I think we forget those a lot of times. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Teresa, I think that definitely hits you.
I wanted to bring up something to it. Yeah, no, it totally did. One other thing too is when you go from being, the kind of the person in charge of the office, and then you officially get the title, right? And then someone comes in that hasn't worked with you, and maybe they're older, maybe has more experience, and I feel like if you can be really confident and still feel like an imposter if you're up against someone who's, for a lack of a better term, trying to gaslight you, making you question yourself. And I think that's where you start to go, maybe I don't, maybe I'm not, I'm in this job just because, I'm here the longest or whatever. Did I really earn this job? And I would push back and say, anybody who is making you question where you are, there's a problem with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're able to defend your skills, and if you're able to defend your position, not defend like, being adversarial, but if it's clear that you've earned your position and someone's questioning your position, the problem is with the person, not with you. And there needs to be a conversation on not just boundaries, but appropriateness, and are they questioning you in front of people, or are they questioning you the right way privately, but if someone is making you feel like an imposter, I think that's a whole different ball of wax. And I just wanted to make sure, like, I don't know if anyone's feeling that. You and I, all of us have talked to new managers. The most problematic situation is when people feel like they didn't earn the promotion, even though they did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's so true. And when I started my father's practice, I was so insecure because, well, I had no idea what I was doing. But then even after I learned, the insecurity about it being my father and like that nepotism
Mm-hmm.
kind of was there. I didn't earn my spot, even though my father, he was so much harder on us than anybody else.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember having, trying to instill checklists in the office, which I'm a sucker for a checklist. Everyone should have a checklist. And the hygienist had been there was, double my age, triple the amount of experience, and me instilling a new process and telling her how to do her job was really difficult, especially someone in their young 20s that, oh, you're just the daughter of the dentist. Like, you don't deserve to be here. And I still remember sitting in that consult room having this conversation with her because it sticks with you, like that feeling of doubting yourself. But ultimately, I just say, lead with vulnerability. So I didn't act like I had it all together because I didn't, but leaning with the vulnerability, but also not being afraid to try something, even if it's new for the office, owning up if it doesn't go well, but
Mm-hmm.
trying new things. I think we get stuck in the cycle of keeping things the way it's always been. And so
Sure.
if you try to instill change, that can be really difficult in an office, but that is the only way to grow. The only way to grow is through change and through adapting to something new, even when you struggle. The struggle is not bad, the struggle is good. It's
Hmm.
just how you react to the struggle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I
a
wanted
great
to
point.
give, sorry, Lori, I wanted to give just a little bit of like a verbal skill here, for anyone who's feeling that. So if you've got someone in your office who's like, kind of undercutting you or making you feel like it, I mean, pull them aside. Doesn't have to be public, obviously, but just say, I'm sensing that you feel we should be doing this differently. Can you share how? And let's talk about that. And I know part of us, there's probably someone out there going, okay, well, they're not going to listen, but you got to start somewhere. So start it, go back. If they don't believe you, just go, I really want to make this work. And I know you have something that you'd like to add. I really want to hear it. So sometimes it's putting aside some pride because I know some of the best relationships I've had started out with, who are you? And, what are you doing here? And now, I bounce a lot of ideas off of those same people. So I think there just needs to be a breakdown of that, whatever wall that person has put up.
Yeah. I think imposter syndrome can also show up during morning huddles. Like if you're a newer manager and you're trying to kind of lead the conversation. But I think, and I love the advice point, Teresa, and I think mine would be, remember, we're empathic creatures by nature. And a lot of the clinicians in your practice are looking at teeth and clinical diagnosis and things like that. We look at behavior. We resonate by other people's mirroring behavior, right? Like I'm looking at you, you're smiling at me, you have a grumpy look on your face. You can kind of read the room when you come in. Just remember when you're leading a huddle, you're doing something, especially with the whole team environment, that, data doesn't lie. So as long as you're prepared and you know for a fact what you're looking at, I think it's super important that that will empower you to have more conversation. My other tip would be to speak up early. Like if you're leading the meeting and someone says something, don't sit for a half hour while everybody rant on about all kinds of different things. Even if you feel a little bit inadequate or it's new for you, I would speak up early and let your voice be heard, because then you can kind of sit back in your seat and go, okay, I did that. I said something and I'm going to move on. And again, read the room, understand that other people are going to, that we call in coaching school, we call it beamers, behavioral modification indicators. So they're the things that are on people's faces. Like, some people, I don't know, Ashley, you have the same beautiful face all the time. Teresa and I think are a little bit more, what are you talking about? So, really read the room. And I think you all can overcome that feeling. I know that we have to a degree, but it's, every once in a while, I think it pops up for everybody. And I think that's natural. But it's like one of those things, feel it and let it go, because it's not real. It's
Yeah.
not
So
real.
right.
Yeah.
Don't let
Yep.
it stop you.
That's right. That's right.
It's very much like public speaking, honestly. And I know not everybody on the call has done a lot of public speaking, but you're so worried everybody's going to fixate on that one thing you say or your color of lipstick or your outfit. Like nobody cares. They're there to learn. Like they don't care. Like you could
Right.
really give the conversation behind a screen like the Wizard of Oz. And as long as they're learning what they want to learn, they're going to be fine. So um, I think, and it's the same with treatment plan presentation, financial presentation, just stop worrying so much about how you're doing. You got to put all the focus on the audience or the patient and let them
Mhm.
be what drives that conversation. Don't worry about yourself. You're fine. You're fine. And if you get something between your teeth, you're not going to be able to fix it now anyway. So just keep going, right? Like,
It's gonna make a great story for the future.
right.
All my I can't believe I did that. That's so embarrassing. Make great stories now. Like you
Oh,
all get feedback.
I gave a whole presentation once at Yankee with a price tag hanging from my jacket. Whole presentation. And
Please tell
then
me, were you able to return it? Is that
no,
why?
I didn't even mean to do that. I totally
Oh,
just forgot to take it off. No, I'm not even that
That's
smart. And then
awesome.
somebody in the front row, it wasn't a whole presentation. She was about 20 minutes in, and she goes, "Come here, come here." I'm in the middle of talking, and she's like, "Come here." And she just nicely picked it off and kept going. And I thought, okay, most of the room didn't see that
right.
because it was a large room, right? But man, the people that did, we just had kind of a little quiet chuckle. But yeah, every time I raised my arm, there it was, just dangling down. So yeah, things happen.
That's awesome. One more quick tip for those people, and everybody knows I love office managers. If you're the office manager, stop saying to people, I don't know, I'm just the office manager.
Oh yeah, don't do.
I feel like they are like the COO of patient flow, of interoffice communication, kind of the keeper of all, the gatekeeper of all things. You're the centripetal figure. Stop saying you're just the office manager. That is
Just
a detriment to everyone. And I know a lot of people do it, which is
Yeah,
really, really defeating. So
it is.
stop doing that.
And there's life in the power of your words. So what you
oh
say
yeah.
and what you think I
Mhm.
tell this to my teenager all the time. That's what you become. So
Mhm.
pay attention to the voice in your head and the words that come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Brian saying in the chat, stop saying you're just anything.
Yes.
Absolutely. That word
That's
just is so minimizing. And,
yep.
yeah, replace that with I'm the amazing.
I'm
Exactly.
amazing. Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
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 yeah,
well,
go
yeah,
for
let's
it.
move it into confidence. So this is something I still struggle with. I mean, if you saw me even before this webinar, I'm like having panic attacks over here. So let's shift to confidence here, and just what over the years, how our confidence has changed. And I'll get us started with just, as everyone knows, I started my dad's practice, but I was thrown into it. And I thought confidence at a young age meant having all the answers. I still fall into that trap where confidence means I had to know everything. And I remember sitting at the front desk and, dealing with all different insurance companies and different rules and different codes and different policies. It is impossible to know everything, and you can't be the master of everything. And if I would get a claim, if a claim was denied or a patient was unhappy, I took it so personally that I was a failure. And I have quickly realized over the years, as I'm getting a little bit older, that it's not about knowing everything. It's about being okay, being an ongoing learner and being curious and knowing that your learning is never going to cease. That is what I think has made me just realize I don't have to be perfect because I get stuck in the trap of perfection and expect too much of myself, which leads to shame. And that self-talk just keeps us going into imposter syndrome. But confidence was really just for me learning to ask better questions, learning to read into the details, learning to pick up the phone and call a payer if I had questions, doing a little digging. And that lesson has just stuck with me and starting to stick with me that you don't have to know every answer. It's about trusting what you do know and being willing to dig in or ask people that you trust on questions that you don't know. You don't have to be the master of everything. You just have to keep going at it and keep learning and keep being curious. Teresa, I'm curious because I look at you and I see it's like, how could you not have, like, you just seem like you have this aura of confidence. Like, there's no stage or place that could ever intimidate you. Has that changed? Have you always been, or are you that confident? Have you always been that confident? What's helped you get there in your career?
No, I definitely have moments where I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Why did I do that? And Lori's heard me complain all the time. I'm like, I have this terrible business manager that makes some really dumb decisions. That's me, right? Like, so um, I mean, I think some of it has to do with, and I don't want to go too deep into like the whole coaching thing, but I definitely, because Lori's good at that. The I think it has to do with your home life, how you were raised, and how you handle things in your life, and how you're going to be a manager. So, just kind of going a little bit of a step back, I was raised by a narcissist. I mean, my mom, I love her to death. We're getting along just fine, but she's a true narcissist. She meets five of the seven criteria. And when you're raised by someone who knows everything, does everything, you kind of feel like you either have to or you don't, right? Or you're going to get into big trouble. So when I went into the office, and it was kind of and this is what happens to most people. When you go into an office and you do a good job and everyone starts to depend on you, that becomes your identity, where you are expected to be the one with all of the answers. And so that just built on that helped to ease the fact that at home I was not 100% confident all the time. But I go to the office and now I'm like, oh, okay, I know what the heck I'm doing. So I built up my confidence by watching how my mom pretty much got everything she wanted in life by just saying, I know what I'm doing, even though she didn't. Like, so it was interesting to watch that. So there's a little bit of fake it till you make it, which I don't love that, but I mean, I watched it work, right? So going into the office, all managers, it's kind of a little bit of a cluster in your mind because you are over and over again, you're solving things and you're saving things, right? So you become the saver of the office. So you grow confidence because you've been able to put out all of the fires. you feel like you know everything because you know everything about the office, right? You know, like in inner workings, you know when the compressor is going to make a funny noise, like all of this stuff, right? But then the industry changes or something new comes along or a new patient comes in that you've never dealt with, and all of a sudden you're like, ugh, and you go back to that feeling of, oh, what the heck am I doing? It's really hard for anyone to go from total master of my domain to newbie. And the hard part is not you know, people see it, right? So I think that fake it till you make it is does kind of play into it. I think it's really important for people not to see how flustered you are, but it's okay to be flustered, right? And you have to have people that you feel safe talking with about it. And you never, you know, and it's like Saving Private Ryan when you have a complaint about the military, you don't complain up. I mean, you don't complain down, you complain up because you know, the people that are under you metaphorically are not supposed to see how stressed out you are and how, you know, scattered you are. When I think about the confidence now that I have, I think it was me understanding I didn't have all the answers. And now the confidence doesn't come from having all the answers because I don't. The confidence comes from knowing I can find the answer. Like you talked about resource. And so that's what makes me very valuable to a lot of people is that I'm, you know, if I don't have the answer, I definitely know someone who will. And in a management position, you may not know the answer for the latest infection control issue, but you've got someone on speed dial that you could and bring in for training. And if we let go of the fact that we don't always have to provide the answer, we just need to provide the pathway to the answer. I think that's when things shifted for me is I just needed to be the conduit for all of the good stuff. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a very long answer. I'm so, so
That was a beautiful though, like
sorry.
Yeah.
on a plaque.
Yeah. Um, I think to add to that, when I got ready to start my new job last year, I did not feel confident at all. I knew that people understood what I'd done in dentistry, but I was like, I haven't been in a dental practice since I was in my 20s and 30s. How in the world am I going to evaluate if I'm going to work for a good company when I have no flipping clue? So along the veins, Teresa, of what you're saying, picked up the phone, called Savannah Carlson, called Teresa Duncan and said, I need you on this call. I need you to look at this with me, and I need you to be honest with me about what I'm getting into. And I think the confidence that they gave me was enough for me to make a really good decision. So I completely agree with sometimes if you don't feel confident about something, looking to other people who you trust and who will support you. And speaking just from, Teresa and my relationship, who will be honest with you when you're getting ready to screw up or when you're getting ready to do something or you're not taking a leap that you should. And like Teresa, I was in a lot of stupid beauty pageants and just think, poor John Benet Ramsey, but like I'm still kind of here. But maybe she was a lot cuter. But there's that. That's kind of what my whole life was as a young girl. And I was used to winning. I mean, look at the picture I gave you to put up. It's me holding a blue ribbon with my horse. I like to win. And I'm not going to sit back and say that I don't. So it's very difficult to build your confidence when you feel like you always have to win. So as I've gotten older, and if I can give some advice, I think when you look at winning and losing and building your confidence, you have to look at the small wins that are way more important than the big ones. So, I mean, anytime you get the parking spot up front, or you come in and everybody in the morning huddles in a good mood and they're smiling and they're laughing those small wins, if you don't celebrate those, it erodes at your confidence if you're constantly focused on what's going wrong. So my side tip would also be, lean into good friends, lean into somebody who, if I had any kind of billing question, any kind of anything, you two are the first I'm calling. I'm not calling anyone else because number one, you have to be able to, again, trust the resource, and everybody needs resources in order to make a change. Sorry, long answer. There's a quadrant process that they taught us when I was in coaching school. It's identify the problem, what keeps the problem going, what resources do you need to solve it, and if you can identify those resources, then what keeps you from the change? And I think that's where managers a lot of times get stuck. And Teresa, you mentioned it. They get so afraid of knowing everything and knowing how everything goes. And I see it in the software world all the time. They're afraid to implement something because they don't want to be back down at square one. And sometimes, talking from experience, you have to get kicked off the ladder in order to climb up higher because you know you want a different view. So, oh, that sounded very philosophical. So, Ashley, what do you think?
You guys are just like putting out these quotes that need to be like copywritten. That,
She's really good with these like t-shirt quotes or like
yes, that was
brave quotes.
great.
She's really good at that stuff.
You kicked off that ladder. But it's so true. I think that, I can still be so scared of messing up or making mistakes. And looking back at my life, that is the lessons where I learn the most. Like, why am I running from what's helped me grow the most? Not that I, of course, want to wake up messing up every day, but the truth is, we're going to mess up. We're human. That those with the right attitude, those can be the best learning lessons for the entire team. How you respond to making mistakes is
Hmm.
going to shine so brightly in your office. It's going to allow either show people that you're allowed to make mistakes or not, how you get through them, how you pick yourself back up and be better than before. Because you can be someone that, because so we didn't always have the best hiring, and sometimes we would hire people that just didn't care about making mistakes. So there's a difference between just not caring at all or
Right.
someone where you making mistakes, you're able to see it as like, hey, you know what? We're trying, you messed up, but now we know for the future what we're going to do different. And going forward, it doesn't mean we're perfect, but we learn from our lessons. And that is something that like do not be afraid of failure. There's growth in failure. And that has been the best lesson for me has been to just understand that and take the pressure off of myself on being perfect.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's a lot of pressure you're putting on yourself. And we get enough pressure from other people. Like,
Yeah, right?
why would you put your own pressure in there?
Okay, we need
So,
to be our own best cheerleaders, and I am preaching to the choir. I have been telling myself I was going to do positive affirmations in the mirror for a few years. It still feels a little weird, but I know the science behind it. And I know the
Yeah.
science behind what you say about yourself in your head. So if you are an office manager that's having imposter syndrome or lacks the confidence, start paying attention to what you're telling yourself. And if you have to write out in the mirror who you want to be or what you want to say about yourself, do it. Do it with me. Reach out to me. Let's do it together because I need an accountability buddy.
Yeah, I love that. And
yeah.
my favorite quote I came up with years ago that no one knows. So just I'm just sharing because no one knows my quote. But you know how they always say, fear is the crux of everything, right? So under confidence and under all the insecurity is really just fear. Fear that someone's going to find out that I'm an imposter, or fear that someone's going to know I'm not as smart as I say that I am. So there's a one that's out there. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Just remember that's really important. But the one I came up with is fear is for fools and lion tamers. So if you're a lion tamer, you need to be afraid. You need to
Right.
get your darn butt out of the pen. Get out of there. You're in there with a lion. And I think, there's people that I saw in the comments too. People are like, my doctor's passive, my team's passive aggressive. And there's things we're going to get to, and we'll get to your questions. But just remember, a lot of that is fear based. You have to really look at something and find out whatever's going on the outside of you is probably also going on in the inside of you, and it's just a way to look at how you're dealing with fear. So confidence really gets bolstered when you take out the judgment and stay curious. I wonder why he said that. I wonder why they looked at it that way. I wonder why, being curious, that's very different than they don't like me. They don't like what I said. They don't trust me. That's the voice we got to get out of our head.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. If the voice is pitting you against other people too, I would say check it.
Mm-hmm.
I always, what can ruin culture in an office is not assuming the best in other people. So I say always go in assuming the best. And not that you take abuse, but assume the best, be curious instead of telling yourself the story of what the other person is thinking.
think you assume the best until you're shown otherwise. Like you
Yes.
assume good intent until you're shown otherwise. So I don't want to be, I mean, to your saying, don't take abuse. Let's not get everybody the benefit of the doubt after they've shown you something. Obviously, you think everything is fine, and if they continually show you everything's not fine, as a manager, you need to act on that. There definitely are bad apples out there. We've all worked with them, and as managers, it's really on us to clear that out so that we can continue to have a non-toxic relationship atmosphere. Um, and as a manager, letting that kind of stuff just thrive in an office, it's the best way to lose the confidence that your team has in you, for sure. So, you made me think like this whole conversation has made me think of a really funny time in my career. I wanted to just share it with you guys. So, I think it might be fun to share some stories here. So, I've had one job where I got fired from, and I wanted to just share this with you because, like when I told you guys I had been fired from a job, you were like, what? What do you mean? It's totally possible because you can learn from your mistakes. And this definitely, I learned from my mistakes. So, not everybody gets to where they are without screwing up. I mean, you have to screw up in order to learn some stuff. And so I was in high school and I had a part-time job at a physical therapist office. And I was in charge up front, helping out the receptionist, but also helping out with the billing. Even back then, I didn't even know I was liking billing back then, but I was helping with invoices and all that. And I remember her name was Deloria, my manager, wonderful lady. I really need to look her back up because I learned a lot from her on how to carry yourself, how to interact with people. She was always so gracious. And we shared an office. I had a little corner in her office, and she would always say to me, you have a messy workspace. And I would say, okay, I'm going to clean it up. And I would make a good effort to clean it up. And because I was only there 2 times a week. And so for the rest of the week, she had to look at my messy workspace. And I didn't think about that until later. And I think it just happened too many times where I just would leave a pile and I would say, okay, I'm going to tackle this when I get back. And it just bugged her. And she said, um, you know, I don't have another place to put you. And I've asked you a couple times to do this, and I don't know why you're not doing it. And I just think this isn't working out. And it was devastating to me because I see that as being messy, and she saw that as defiance and not respecting her. And I see what she means now. I just thought, being a silly teenager, like, oh, she doesn't like my pile. Like, can't she just move it? Like, that was like what I thought. Looking back now, I heard her and I ignored her.
Mhm.
And I deserved to be fired, right? Um, and I don't, if I reach back out to her to tell her, look, you really had a big impact on my life, she would be like, I fired you for something stupid. But it was something big in my mind. And it made me realize, when someone in a position of power over you asks you to do something and she didn't do it mean, she did it politely, what you've accepted as being an employee is that you will do that. It's part of your employment, right? Like, here's the thing. You pay me money, I do the job. Like, this is the kind of thing, right? Then when the other thing I learned was, even when she was firing me, she was gracious. She could have told me, you're like, how dumb are you? Like, why can't you just listen? And she was very, you're gonna learn from this. She even said, you're gonna learn from this and you're gonna go to another job and you're gonna remember that this happened. And I did for the next couple of jobs. I remember I would leave at the end of the day and be like, is my space okay? Because Deloria would Deloria fire me for this, So it is pretty interesting to me that this still sticks with me. I mean, this is like 40, almost 40 years ago that this happened to me, so yeah, she still sticks with me. Do you guys have anything from your jobs like you can remember, like maybe even more funny than what I shared, but um anything that's crazy that's happened in your job that makes you
Oh,
think back and go, what the heck was I thinking?
oh, I have probably one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. It was working at my father's practice, and I had been office manager for a while. Now my father and I are very similar personalities. For those of you who've taken the DISC assessment, like high D and then C. It's like tone doesn't mean anything to us. So it's gonna sound a little dramatic what happened. but just keep that in mind. Tone doesn't mean anything. Um, we got in an argument in the consult room. At that time, I did not know anything about emotional regulation like I do now. I did not understand what was happening inside of my nervous system. My fight or flight was being activated. Which advice, if you feel that inside of you, like you need to run away or fight, that is a sign to pause and
Mm,
do what you have to do. Walk away from the conversation until you're regulated because nothing good is going to happen once your nervous system is activated. You can't get out of it. My nervous system was activated and I started screaming in his office. Thankfully, there's no patients. But I think I felt underappreciated and I just wanted to be seen. And
mm,
the family dynamic also makes it just more difficult. I would have never done this to a normal employer, ever. But I started screaming that I quit. And I was like walking up and down the hall, I quit. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. There was the hygienist was like people were in the office. Now, once my nervous system got back down to normal level, it's like you black out for a second.
mm.
I realized like we were both, his nervous system was up and mine, and we kept coming at each other. And I should have walked away. I rescinded my quitting. So he thankfully took me back. In a normal situation, oh, I would have been out of there, fired.
Yeah.
Uh, I obviously couldn't handle myself
Don't
that
do
way.
that.
Don't do that. But it was just, I had a lot of pride working for my father, wanting to prove myself, even the way I would disrespect him in the morning huddle when I thought I was right. But at the end
Mm,
of the day, even though he's my father, like he was my boss. And the way I treated him was going to be how others treated him. So I was setting the example. If I was going to gossip or talk trash about my own dad behind his back,
yeah.
why wouldn't other people? So as an office manager, pay attention to the way you're talking about your boss because you're setting the tone. And I wish I would have learned my nervous system lesson back then. I'm much better now. And I wish I just knew that leadership skill of like put my pride to the side. And it is about what is best for the office. And what's best for the office isn't making me shine over my dad. It's
Mm,
having people listen to the leader of the office, which is the owner.
yeah. I
Yeah.
like
Or what about
Oh,
you? Have you like hopefully you haven't screamed up and down the halls that you quit?
well, I wanted to for sure. In marriage, or in sorry, we're talking about in office. Shh, don't tell my husband I said that. I'm just kidding.
Sure, sure.
So I have a couple stories. So first of all, technically, I've never really been fired for a performance issue. So I didn't have a dirty desk. I didn't yell at my dad. I didn't have the same like, wonderful experiences that you guys had. But I did have a couple really transformational, and I want to share this with anybody who there's some shift or a huge relevant change that anytime I'm just going to, for today, I'm going to say the universe. Anytime the universe shows up and kicks your tires and all of a sudden you're like stuck on the side of the road, just know that there's a shift coming. So I worked for a very large DSO, and that DSO went through some relevant changes where my title got changed. And I remember thinking, and I think I probably told Teresa, I probably told you this story. I was walking with our operations manager and she was talking to me, and I had this mother-in-law moment. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie with Jane Fonda and J-Lo, where she picks up a frying pan and beats her over the head, and then she wakes up and she's like, "Oh, I didn't really do, she didn't really do it. It was just like a forecasted metaphor." I was like, I saw myself like whacking this gal with my purse. And I'm like, something's wrong. I'm not a violent person. So I used that change to roll into a severance package and pick up my family. And we moved to Minnesota. And I got to raise my son in a place that was safe and wonderful with lots of family. So that bad thing that was happening ended up being a catalyst. So in my life, there hasn't been any real, like real firing kind of moments, but there has been radical changes where I think I was ready to, and this, I don't mean this cocky, like level up. Like, come on, you're stuck here. You need to level up. Something comes along and changes and shifts things. So when you get thrown off your perch, don't look at it as, oh my God, they pushed me off my perch. Look at it as, oh, then what's next?
Mhm.
And if you can keep that, and I said this from the very beginning that I, went to work for Max Assist, I had a lull where I wasn't working for a couple months last year, and I will tell you, I did not stop working. I just kept working, whether it was networking or talking to people or engaging or being on LinkedIn. I think it's important not to get bitter or stagnant. That look at both of you. I mean, you had your moments in that lesson 40 years later
No.
is still sitting with you. And I will tell you the most momentous one for me is a lot of people, some people know this and some people don't. When I had my son, I almost died. I coded, I had a horrible birthing experience that no one should go through. And I tried to go back to work. I tried to do what I had to do, but there was somebody knew that I needed to not be working for a while. And I wasn't paying any attention. A lot of times things that are good for us show up in ways that we don't want to accept. And it's all about the grace, especially speaking from Ashley, you're probably younger than Teresa and I know Teresa, you're younger than me. You know, with age comes great responsibility to actually deal with your own doo-doo, right? Like
Yeah.
we should know by now. So I think as you get older, you will understand that there is wisdom in pausing. There is wisdom in remembering the people that taught us things many years ago. Those things are there for a reason. They're our library of resources so we don't make these mistakes going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the interview questions that I have when we were hiring new people was tell me about your favorite manager. What was it about that person? And that was fun to hear what they admired. But what then the next question was, tell me about a manager you had that you didn't admire, and what was it about that person? And that's when you find out, like, first of all, you find out how bad it is out there because some of the stories I heard were awful. But you also find out what drives that person and what makes that person, what does that person value? And in one situation, the answer was she appreciated that she never was surprised by a manager, this one manager she worked with. And that told me I need to communicate a lot with this person because I really liked her. We were going to hire her. I need to communicate with her. I can't just decide unilaterally something's going to be done. You know, like I need to give her kind of a heads up on things. So that gave me an insight on how to work with her. But when you ask people about their worst and best managerial experiences, like we could probably get like a town hall together and just like die laughing with some of the stories. You wouldn't believe how bad it is out there. So whatever you're doing, if you've got a good staff right now, a good team, and they've been with you for a while, like honestly, you shouldn't have imposter syndrome. You're doing something right, you know? So I think that's important. Like you said, you've got to see like all these things led to where you are. And if you're not in a good place, that's your sign. Like wake up and look at that. Like, why am I not in a good place? Let's change this. And I know it does sound easier said than done. I know that. Like I'm just throwing that out, but making the decision to make that change is the first step.
Yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
you need.
Love it.
Absolutely. We have some great questions in the chat. We are
Mhm.
right about to get to them. Rebecca and Ashley, put more in. Before we do get in those questions, I'm going to quickly pull up our slide deck really quick because we're not going to leave you here without some resources and how to get in touch with us. We're also going to launch a poll right now. So a poll is going to pop up. If you click anything, if you would like to learn more about any of our companies right now, but I'm going to start and just let you know what actually wisdom is. So if you feel like insurance is taking over your team's time, I'm sure that's none of you, right? Everybody. Listen up. We are here for you at Wisdom. So we help dental offices just take the insurance billing burden off your plate. Our team works directly inside your system to handle claim follow-up, insurance aging denials, everything with the payer so that you can focus on the patients and not chasing money. So you can scan this QR code. We're offering $50 cash money just to take a demo where we're just going to walk through your current process. We'll show you our process where we can help you and how you can recover time and revenue. Very low pressure, and honestly, just take a demo and see what all that's about. You can grab your spot today by scanning this QR code, and we would love to talk to you and get your cash money. Lorie, tell us about Max Assist?
Narcissist has been one of my favorite places to live, to land, to work. It's an amazing productivity tool that helps dental office managers actually have a personal assistant and not have to pay out the money to get a personal assistant. I don't know how many people I've talked to that would say, if I just had an extra arm or an extra leg, Max Assist works as an amazing tool that helps you keep your schedule full, keeps you literally consistent. Those lists that you love, Ashley, we provide them for you. AI driven so that the office manager is not replaced but assisted. So I'd love for you to take a look at it, why I fell in love with it. Demo is really easy. We have a bunch of wonderful people that show demos. And if you request a demo, you can actually request for myself or Savannah Carlson, one of us, to be on with you. We could laugh and tell you more stories, but if you haven't seen Max Assist and you're looking for a way to have an extra arm or a leg as an office manager, take a look. It's really easy, and we would love to have you on part of the herd, actually.
And Dental Revenue Network is my membership for billers and billing company owners. If you're a billing company owner and you're US based and US operated, this is the place you want to go to learn how to grow your business. And I'm very, very committed to the US based companies. I want to make sure that you are able to grow. Outsourcing overseas is it's growing in popularity, but I feel like it's a unfair advantage to our US based companies. And I personally want my health information in the States, as do most Americans. And so that's why I made that decision. For the billing professionals, if you're in an office or work for one of these companies, there's a level for you where you get the right answers, you get resources. I've got all sorts of information about the dental payers and all sorts of laws that you need to know about. So my goal is to keep you updated on all things RCM.
And she has everything in there in that network, I will tell you. Let me go. Last slide before we get into these questions, because we can't leave you without some cheat sheet resources. So the first QR code is our most popular dental billing power pack. It has our most popular ebooks in it. So clinical note templates, how to get paid faster, dental billing glossary. Scan that QR code and fill out the form. All of them will come directly to your inbox.
And I've got a awesome white paper, and I love that it's top 10 ways to enter the room like a boss. So talk about combating imposter syndrome. Scan the QR code, download it. It's 10 quick tips. I don't have a library like Ashley, but maybe between her library and my 10 tips, you'll be like, oh, I'm a rock star. So yeah, we got you covered.
That's right. All right, so let's hop into, because I already see some great questions. We're gonna start with the top one, Rebecca's.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, so I'll read it out for us. I work for a dentist and business manager who are both very passive towards their staff and resistant to change. I have 13 years of experience, 8 under their ownership as office manager, and have plenty of good ideas, but they don't want to rock the boat by having the tough conversations with team members in order to change and grow. Any recommendations?
So I saw this and immediately, I know this dentist, not this dentist, but I know this dentist
Yes.
character. Like this is so common. And when you have run into one, you've run into most of them that are built like this. The reason why they do not want to rock the boat is they have this huge fear of change. They think that if they rock the boat, people are going to leave, like people are going to quit, right? So it's easier for them to not rock the boat and have that security that people are going to show up every day to do the job. Now, that security is security for them, but for you as the manager, this is chaos, right?
All
So
right.
they might be sitting in their operatory going, I'm fully staffed, everybody's here. And you're in there going, I'm fully staffed with people who don't make it great to be here. Like that's the difference there. Um, whether or not I think it makes more sense for you as the manager to have those tough conversations with the team members. It seems to me that in this situation, they're not letting you do that. Like they either want to have the conversations with you or they're having the conversations. And if you can move them by, giving them the having them trust you with these conversations, that makes a difference because it sounds like you know what conversations need to be had. So maybe if you all are having the conversations together with the team, let get the doctor to commit that you are the dentist and the manager are okay with you leading the conversation, right?
Mhm.
If they're not okay with that, then let's ask why. And that's going to be a tough conversation for you to hear because you might hear, we don't think you can handle it, or I just would rather do this. And there's got to be some underlying reasons there. The fact that you have plenty good ideas, I think that's awesome. But I also know that in an office where change is very hard, somebody with really good ideas is unfortunately wasted. And I'm not saying go quit, Rebecca. That's not what I'm saying. But I have seen people who have fantastic ideas be stuck in an office that's never going to appreciate just how amazing that person is. So I gave kind of different scenarios because I don't know this exact scenario, but change is hard. Change is hard for dentists, especially.
Oh my getting my father to change anything was impossible. And then he would get amnesia about what we were changing
Hmm.
and forget that that's what we were changing. But my advice would be because my brain comes up with so many ideas at the same time. What I realized in the beginning, I was trying to implement so many changes when I started going down to one thing a month. So we had like one goal, which is still a lot to change, but one goal a month. So like 1 month, it was like, let's focus on reviews. And that was the one thing, like, let's tweak how we do this to focus on reviews. And that doesn't even have to be one a month, but I would say maybe start smaller, start with
Mhm.
one idea and see if you can get the team on board with that one idea and then go from there. Lori, what about
Yeah.
your advice?
Yeah, I agree. Eat how to eat the elephant one bite at a time. I think when you have someone that's resistant to change, it's kind of like the Atomic Habits dental edition that I did for Maxed Out Manager. It's basically like these small incremental things lead to something big. So don't try to take on everything at one time. Take on the small things, get a few wins under your belt, and then they'll start listening a little bit more. And then sometimes they don't at all. And that's something you have to address for yourself, whether or not it's a good fit.
God.
Yeah. One last thing about this question too is, and you all can appreciate this being in corporate positions. When you have a good idea, it's not enough to just have a good idea. There's got to be a reason for the change to happen, and what are the implications of the change to happen. So I think from a corporate side, Lorie just can't say, "Hey, Max Assist, I want to change this." She's got to bring in, she's got to actually make a proposal. Doesn't have to be formal, but like, here's what I'd like to do. Here's who's affected. Here's
Yep.
the ROI from it, and here's what happens if we don't do it. And that takes the emotion out of, I just had this great idea and I know it's going to work. It takes the emotion out of it and makes it more of a factual decision. And dentists are factual decision makers. And that's, I think, the level you need to communicate on.
Yeah, that's great advice. Ashley asks, I feel like once, which I feel like Teresa, you have, I believe, something coming up for
Oh,
this,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
operatory. I feel like once you work your way up to management, it is hard to continue to grow unless you go outside the office. But where do you begin? How do you go from management to speaking, consulting, or other avenues in dental? Teresa.
Yeah, so I'm this Friday actually. Oh, Ashley, I wish you'd seen some of the advertising I put out. So I'm hosting a workshop called Beyond the Operatory, and it's for people just exactly what you said. And we're going to offer it again. It's sold out, and it's a small group workshop. And I'll just tell you what you can do, Ashley, right now is because that's it. You feel like there's something more. You just feel like there's something more. Um, what I would do is take a look at, do you want to make more money? Do you want to have more freedom? Do you want to learn more things? Because those three things sometimes cross, but not really. Being a consultant and being a speaker, you don't make a lot of money right out the gate. You don't. You probably will not replace your office manager income. I'll tell you that right now, and for a little bit of time. So you have to be okay with that. But I looked outside of dentistry to learn things like how to host meetings, how to handle change management, things like that, how to speak, right? How to structure a speech. You're not going to learn those things in most dental conferences. So I applaud you for going wanting to go to the next level, I would start focusing in for now on what you want to really get good at and teach other people about, and then throw out anything that you really dislike working on and promise yourself that that's not what you're going to offer. You're not going to want to talk about. And then, be happy to have a call with you about it, but start talking to your reps and people that you know and let them know people are willing to help you much more than you think. So I think just by reaching out professionally, you're going to get a lot more answers on that. But Ashley, send me an email. I'm happy to just give you some quick tips and maybe you sign up for the next one, but if not, I mean, you might be ready to go now, so you can't wait for the next one. I'll give you some tips.
Right. Now, before I know we're at time, do you guys have time for one more
Yeah,
question?
yeah,
Go
yeah.
a little over.
Hmm.
Before we do, I just want to shout out to Dawn, who did a really sweet shout out in the chat. They just started with wisdom this week. And so thank you, Dawn. So excited. Reach out to me anytime. But you're gonna have a great experience with our team. Angela is asking, do you have any tips on overwhelm? Do you keep a daily list? Currently dealing with overwhelm. No, I know we all can relate to this, especially
Yeah.
working in a practice. So I'll say for me, I talk about my checklist. It was that, granted, that's how my mind works. Like checklists work for me. But I feel
Mhm.
like the day to day, there's so many fires happening all the time. I needed to ground myself back to what were the most important things I got done today. So I like on Mondays was like posting insurance payments. On Tuesdays, I focused on patient billing and statements. So I had every day an agenda. And that is what would keep me grounded so that when life was crazy, I could at least point back to what do I have to get done? And then knowing, hey, on Tuesday I didn't get statements out. So I know, I need to get that out on Wednesday. So for me, my checklist was the beginning of helping my overwhelm.
Yeah, I'll just add quickly. Self-care is everything. I mean, overwhelm usually leads to some kind of burnout.
Yep.
And if you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to sit back and ask yourself, what are the 10 things I'm tackling today? Like Ashley said, a good list, and then pick the top three that make the most sense. Because most people are overwhelmed because they're trying to take too much on and they're trying to take too much onus on themselves for being responsible for everything. So check your systems, make sure that you have systems in place that support you, and then make sure you look at your top three and celebrate your wins. If you're constantly going, oh, I have this, oh, I have that, you're gonna get overwhelmed. So try to focus on your wins and try not. I don't want to make that sound too fluffy, but breaking it down to the smallest form and chewing the elephant, like I said, one bite at a time, will help with overwhelm too.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I know we're a few minutes over, so if we didn't get to your questions, we will make sure to get to it in the recap. Everyone will be getting an email with the recording, and then please reach out to any of us if you have any additional questions. We hope today just was life-giving, hopefully to some, and just know again, we've been in your shoes, or so we still deal with imposter syndrome, so you're not alone. So never feel like you're on this island as an office manager without support. So you could always reach out to any of us at any time. And thank you, Lorie, and thank you, Teresa, so much for being here. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
You.
Bye.